Good morning, students. Today, let me continue with that chapter reptiles, part 2, that is about snakes, snake venom, and poison apparatus. Snakes are a kind of reptiles which are either poisonous or non poisonous. And there are a lot of misconception about the snakes, that all snakes are poisonous, but really, or in a strict sense, the snakes are all not poisonous types. Most of the Indian snakes are non-poisonous and harmless, and out of 330 odd Indian species, only 69 are poisonous, and that is 29 species of sea snakes and 40 species of land snakes. These are only the poisonous types. And all poisonous snakes have a poison apparatus in their head and a pair of larger teeth or fangs in upper jaw. However, non-poisonous snakes, neither they have fangs nor they have poison apparatus. So both these poison apparatus and fangs are absent in non-poisonous snakes. There are a number of features by which poisonous snakes can be differentiated from non-poisonous snakes, and it is as follows. So before going to these features, that how we can identify the poisonous and non-poisonous snakes, let me go through some misconceptions about these snakes. That all snakes are poisonous, that is wrong. And the second misconception is that snakes will drink milk when they are offered with the milk, but this is also wrong. Only when they are thirsty they are going to drink the milk that we offer. And there is another misconception that snakes can hear airborne sounds, but that is not true. As we already discussed in the general characters of class Reptilia, snakes can only listen the earthborne sounds, but they cannot listen to airborne sounds. And the other misconception is that snakes will dance, or they will move their hood region or the head region according to the tune produced by that snake charmer. So this is also wrong or misconception. And there is also another misconception, that particularly about the king cobra, the Naja Naja, that it will take revenge over a person. Even after 12 years it is going to bite that particular person. So this is also wrong or a misconception. Now let us go through some features by which how we can differentiate poisonous and non-poisonous snakes. The very first thing is that when you come across with a snake, you will have to look into its tail region. That is the first structure to be observed. And if the tail is laterally compressed, then it is poisonous type, and this type of tail is present in sea snakes. On the other hand, if the tail is cylindrical and tapering type, it is poisonous or non-poisonous type, and this feature is present in case of land snakes. Now, after examining the tail region, we will have to examine the belly scales, that is the scales present on the ventral surface of their body. If the belly scales are small and continuous with dorsals, it is definitely a non-poisonous snake, and this feature is generally seen in pythons. And if the belly scales are, that is ventrals, they are not fully broad to cover the belly, it is definitely a non-poisonous snake, and this is again found in pythons. On the other hand, if the belly scales or the ventrals, if they are broad, fully covering the belly region, it is non-poisonous again. It is present in case of pythons. So this is with reference to the feature, that is belly scale feature, by which we can differentiate the poisonous and non-poisonous snakes. The third feature that we have to examine is that presence of scales on the head region, the loreal pit, and subcaudals. If the head scales are small and the head is triangular and no loreal pit, it is definitely a poisonous snake, and this condition is seen in pitless viper. And the second aspect of this is, if the subcaudals are double, and that is definitely a poisonous snake, and this feature is found in Vipera russelli, that is viper snake. And if the subcaudals are single, it is again a poisonous snake, and this feature is found in Echis carinata, that is sea snake. And if the head scales are small and the loreal pits are present, that is definitely a poisonous snake, and that is present in pit viper. And if the head is having a large shields and no loreal pit, it is again a poisonous snake, and this feature is found in Ancestrodon. Now, the next feature which we have to examine is that the vertebrals are the fourth infralabial and third supralabial shield present in the head region. Before going to this feature, let me tell you about what are these vertebrals. Vertebrals are nothing but the scales which are present along the line of the vertebral column of their body, especially in the middle part of the dorsal surface of the body of the snake. And with reference to these vertebrals, if the vertebrals are enlarged, hexagonal type, and the fourth infralabial is the largest one, it is definitely a poisonous snake, and this feature is present in Crate or Bungarus. And if the vertebrals are not enlarged, hexagonal type, third supralabial touches the eye and nostrils, and this feature is present in a poisonous snake only. So before going to the next feature here, let me tell you one thing, that what are the supralabials and infralabials. You know, labial refers to tongue, and if the shields are present above this mouth region, that is on the dorsal part of the mouth, they are referred to as supralabials. And if the shields are present below the mouth, that is on the ventral side of the mouth, and these shields are referred to as infralabials. So labial refers to the lower lip or the lower part of the jaw, and those present on the upper part, they are called supralabials, and those present on the lower part, they are referred to as infralabials. Then if the neck is with a hood and a specialized spectacle mark is present, and this feature is definitely a poisonous snake feature, and this is seen in case of cobra. I hope all of you must have seen cobra snake. And if the hood is absent, coral spots are present on the belly, it is again a poisonous snake, and the snake will be cobra or coral snake or callowfish. So these are some important features by which we can distinguish between a poisonous and non-poisonous snakes. And if no such characters explained above, they are all definitely non-poisonous snakes. So it is very clear now that first we have to look into the tail region, as we have seen here, and next we have to look into belly scales, that is the next feature to be examined or observed, and the next feature is head scales, loreal pit and subcaudals, and the fourth important feature that we have to look in a poisonous snake will be vertebrals, fourth the infralabials and supralabials and such other features. So if all these characters are absent or not seen in a snake that we come across, they are all definitely non-poisonous snakes. I hope now you have an outline idea about how to distinguish between a poisonous and a non-poisonous snakes. Now a question arises, why we should have this idea? Because most of the times the deaths are caused due to fear only by a snake bite. But as I said already, all snakes are not poisonous ones. So many a times a person is being bitten by a non-poisonous snake, but because of that fear, that person may die. So if you have these kind of ideas, that is how to distinguish between a poisonous and non-poisonous snake, we can avoid or prevent such kind of deaths. So this is again a flow chart showing how to distinguish between poisonous and non-poisonous snakes, which thing I already explained you in the previous slides. This is for your reference. So this is the photograph again, showing how to distinguish between non-poisonous and poisonous snakes, which thing I already explained you, but with diagram I am going to explain it now. So as I said already, first thing we have to observe is about tail, the nature of the tail. If the tail is cylindrical, then it is definitely it may be a poisonous or non-poisonous snake. And if the tail is broad and flat and wire shaped, like here, this is definitely a poisonous snake. So if the tail is cylindrical and pointed, it may be a poisonous or non-poisonous snakes. And now, as we already discussed, now we have to look into the belly region, that is the ventrals. If the scales are small, as I already explained you, then it is definitely a non-poisonous snake. If the scales are narrow, okay, then it is again a non-poisonous snake. And if the scales are very large and touching the either sides of the body surface, it is a poisonous or a non-poisonous snake. And as I explained you already, that the next feature which we have to observe is about the head region. So if the head region consisting of a triangular shaped neck region, it is definitely a poisonous snake, which is usually present in viper. And if this feature is observed, it is definitely a poisonous snake. And in the head region, as I told you already, if there is a loreal pit between the eyes and the nostrils, it is definitely a poisonous snake. And as I told you already, if the third supralabial, you can make out that here, if the third supralabial, if it is the largest one touching the eye and nostril, it is again definitely a poisonous snake. Then we have to look into the vertebrals, that is the scales which are present along the vertebral column region, that is on the dorsal surface in the middle part. And if these vertebrals are hexagonal shaped and broad, as I said already, these are poisonous types only. And in case of crate, if the fourth infralabial is the largest one, and it is definitely a poisonous snake, and this feature is present in case of crate, that is Bungarus. So I think now again your doubts are clear that how we can distinguish a poisonous and a non-poisonous snake. Now here is a quick look that how we can distinguish poisonous and non-poisonous snakes. In case of venomous snakes, there is poisonous one. Pits are present on the head, and no pits are present in the head region in non-poisonous snakes. And in venomous snakes or poisonous snakes, elliptical pupils are there, but in non-venomous type, round pupils are there, and undivided anal plate is there in poisonous snakes, but in non-poisonous, divided anal plates are present, and triangular shaped head is present in poisonous, and neck is much skinnier than head region. And in case of non-poisonous type, head is more continuous with the body, so there is no constriction between the head and the rest of the body. So these are some important features by which we can distinguish between a poisonous and a non-poisonous snake. So this is again a summary showing how to distinguish these poisonous and non-poisonous snakes, which thing I already explained to you. Now coming to poison apparatus. What is poison apparatus and where it is present? As I already told you that poison apparatus is exclusively present in poisonous snakes or venomous snakes. And every poisonous snake has in their head region a poison apparatus which is not seen in poisonous snakes, and it includes four main components in it. They are poison glands and their ducts, fangs, and finally muscles. Now let us go through them one by one. What are poison glands? These are paired sac-like modified superior labial glands or parotid glands. That means these are modified salivary glands only. They are found one on either side of the upper jaw below the eyes, and these glands may be small and oval as it is seen in sea snakes, or it is large and tubular as it is seen in vipers, and depending upon the species again. Each gland is surrounded by a thick fibrous connective tissue and mostly covered by fan-shaped constrictor muscles, and often referred to as temporal or masset. And stretching of these muscles during biting squeezes the poison from the gland to its ducts. So these are some informations about poison glands. Coming to poison ducts. A narrow poison duct leads anteriorly from each poison gland to the base of a poison fang to enter its groove or canal. So from the poison gland, it is connected to the fangs through these poison ducts. Coming to the third one, fangs. These are the specialized teeth attached to the maxillary bones, and they are long, curved, sharp and pointed. And they serve as hypodermal needles, just like a syringe or an injection. These are going to work. And these are used for injecting the poison into the body of the victim. When a functional fang is lost or damaged, it is going to be replaced by one of the reserve fangs, the details of which I will show in the next slide. Then coming to the muscles, there are three types of muscles which are generally associated with the poison apparatus, that is for constriction and relaxation of the poison gland and ducts. These are very useful. The first type of muscles associated with the poison apparatus are digastric muscles. It is attached to the squamosal bone of the skull at one end and articular bone of the lower jaw at the other end, and its contraction helps in the opening of the mouth. Second one, sphenopterygoid muscles or protractor muscles. It is attached to the sphenoid region anteriorly and dorsal surface of the pterygoid's bone posteriorly, that is again to the skull bones, and its contraction pulls the pterygoids forward. Then third type, anterior, middle and posterior temporal muscles. So temporal muscles are classified further into three types: anterior, middle and posterior. These are attached to the side walls of the cranium, that is the covering of the brain, and lower jaw, and their contraction closes the mouth. So the contraction of digastric muscles helps in opening the mouth, and the contraction of the sphenopterygoid muscles pulls the pterygoid forward so that the poison is going to inject into the victim body, and once the biting mechanism is over, they are supposed to close their mouth, and that is aided by the contraction of these types of temporal muscles. And in addition to this, skull bones and jaw bones of poisonous snakes are unique and highly specialized ones, and the bones like palatines, pterygoids, ectopterygoids, these are also going to play an important role. Apart from that, squamosal, quadrate, maxillae. These are articulated in such a way that it helps in biting. The quadrate and pterygoid act as levers, that is for the release of venom into the victim body. And generally, fangs are of two types, open and closed types. In open type, as in case of cobra, poison groove is opened, and in closed type, as in case of viper, the poison groove forms a tunnel having two openings, that is one at the base and one near the terminal part. So basically we can come across with two types of fangs, that is open and closed type. And based on the position structure, there are three types of fangs can be found in poisonous snakes. They are solenoglyphous type. Solen refers to pipe and glyph refers to hollow. A large functional fang occurs on the front of each maxilla, and its base is covered on all the sides by a sheath containing a few reserve and developing fangs. A hollow poison canal lined with enamel runs through the fang, opening at the tip, and these are erected by the rotation of the maxilla at the time of biting only. And this type of solenoglyphous fangs are present in case of viper and rattlesnake. Then coming to the second type, protyroglyphous type of fangs. Protyro refers to first and glyph refers to hollow, and these are small fangs present at the front of maxilla and permanently erect type. And each fang is grooved all along its anterior face, and this type of fangs are present in cobra, krait, coral snakes and sea snakes. The third type will be ophistoglyphous type. Ophisto refers to behind and glypho refers to hollow, and these are small fangs found at the base of the maxilla, and each fang is grooved along its posterior region only. So groove is seen only in the posterior region, hence the name ophisto, which means behind. So this type of fang is present in case of Colucidae family of the snakes. So these are the types of fangs based on the structure and function, that is solenoglyphous type, protyroglyphous type and ophistoglyphous type. Now coming to snake venom. Venom is nothing but poison. It is secreted by poison gland of poison apparatus, and it is composed of varieties of enzymes and proteinaceous substances and varying amounts in different species of the snakes. And it is modified saliva only, because poison glands themselves, they are modified salivary glands, and this modified saliva, that is venom, containing zootoxins which facilitate the immobilization and digestion of the prey. So basically it is a gift of the nature for these snakes to facilitate the immobilization of the victim, the prey, and digestion of the same, which is going to be aided by that enzymes or the chemical substances present in that venom. There are two types of snake venom, that is neurotoxic and hemotoxic. Neurotoxic venom, as the name itself suggests, neuro refers to nervous. It produces paralysis and death of respiratory shock. That is, once this neurotoxic venom is injected into the victim's body, it brings about paralysis of the nervous system, and thereby death is going to cause because of respiratory shock. And it is rich in basic amino acids, and it acts at molecular level and thus reduces muscle activity. And it has low molecular weight and fast diffusion process. So these are some important features of neurotoxic venom. And this type of venom is present in coral snakes, cobra, krait, etc. Now coming to the next type, that is hemotoxic venom. It produces hemorrhagic effects and often causes tissue destruction, hence the name hemotoxic. And it is rich in acidic amino acids. Comparatively, it has more molecular weight and it has slow diffusion process. So these are the features of a hemotoxic venom, and this type of venom is present in viper and rattlesnakes. So here is the picture or the diagram showing you how that poison apparatus is there in a poison snake. And as you see here, this is the upper jaw, and this will be the lower jaw, and here you can see the main fangs. So these are the main fangs, okay, and there is the presence of a loreal pit, but that is not related to this poison apparatus, but still it is found. And these poison fangs are being connected by a poison duct, and that poison duct gets connected to the poison gland. And you can see here the different types of muscles that will help in contraction and relaxation of this poison gland, so that the poison is going to be injected into the victim body. And as I told you in the general characters, these snakes are having bifid tongue. And apart from this main fangs which I have shown you here, there are some subsidiary fangs are also present, which are called reserve fangs. You see, these reserve fangs are the ones which are going to replace the main fangs, because once a snake bites a human or any other animal, there will be the damage to these fangs if it is repeatedly biting a victim, and those older fangs are going to be replaced by these reserve fangs. So this is the mechanism by which they continuously have the capacity of biting. And the snake charmers, they are going to remove all these types of fangs, and they are going to keep them in captivity. So this will be the details of this structure of a poison apparatus. So with this, let me stop at this level, and we'll continue our discussion in next class. Thank you.